"Hey, Catnip," says Gale. "My real name is Katniss, but when I first told him, I had barely whispered it, so he thought I said catnip. Then when this crazy lynx started following me around in the woods looking for handouts, it became his official nickname for me. I finally had to kill the lynx because he scared off Gang. I almost regretted it because he wasn't bad company, but I got a decent price for his pelt. Look what I shot." Gale holds up a loaf of bread with an arrow stuck in it, and I laugh. It's a real bakery bread, not the flat designs loaves we make from our grain rations. I take it in my hand, pull out the arrow, and hold the puncture in the crust of my nose, inhaling the fragrance that makes my mouth flood with saliva. Fine bread like this is for special occasions. It's still warm, I say. It's still warm, I say. He must have been at the bakery at the crack of dawn to trade for it. What did it cost you?" "Just a squirrel. I think the old man has feeling sentimental this morning," says Gale. "Even wished me luck." "Well, we all feel a little closer today, don't we?" I say, not even bothering to roll my eyes. Prim left us a cheese. I pull it out. His expression brightens at the treat. "Thank you, Prim. We'll have a real feast." Suddenly he falls into a capital accent as if to mimic Effie Trinket, the manically upbeat woman who arrives once a year to read out the names at the reaping. "I almost forgot. Happy Hunger Games." He plucks a few blackberries from the bushes around us. "And may the odds—" He tosses a berry in the high arc toward me. I catch it in my mouth and break the delicate skin with my teeth. The sweet tartness explodes across my tongue. "Be ever in your favor," I finish with an equal verse. We have to joke about it because the alternative is to be scared out of your wits. Besides, the capital accent is so affected, almost anything sounds funny in it. I watch as Gale pulls out his knife and slices the bread. He could be my brother. Straight black hair, olive skin. We even have the same gray eyes. But we're not related, at least not closely. Most of the families who work in the mines resemble one another this way. That's why my mother and Prim, with light hair and blue eyes, always look out of place. They are. My mother's parents were part of the small merchant class that caters to officials, peacekeepers, and occasional scene customers. They ran approximately shop in the nicer part of District 12. Since almost no one can afford doctors, apothecaries, or healers, my father got to know my mother because on his hunts he would sometimes collect medical herbs and sell them to her shop to brew into medicines. She must have really loved him to leave her home for steam. I try to remember that when all I can see is a woman who sat by, blank, unreachable, while her children turned to skin and bones. I try to forgive her for my father's sake. But to be honest, I'm not the forgiving type. Gale spreads the bread slices with soft green goat cheese, carefully placing a basil leaf on each when I strip the bushes of their berries. We settle back in the nook of the rocks. From the place we are visible, but have a clear view of the valley, which is teeming with summer life, greens to gather, roots to dig, fish in its instant in the sunlight. The day is glorious with blue sky and a soft breeze. The food's wonderful, the cheese seeping into the warm bread, and the berries bursting in our mouths. Everything would be perfect if this really was a holiday, if all the day off meant the roaming mountains with Gale, hunting for tonight's supper. But instead, we have to be standing in the square at 2 o'clock, waiting for the names to be called out. We could do it, you know, Gale says quietly. What? I ask. Leave the district, run off, live in the woods, you know. You and I, we could make it, Gale says. I don't know how to respond. The idea is so preposterous. If we didn't have so many kids, he adds quickly. They're not our kids, of course, but they might as well be. Gale's two little brothers and a sister, Prim, and you know, may as well throw in our mothers too, because how would they live without us? Who would fill those mouths that are always asking for more? With both us hunting daily, there's still nights when game has to be swapped for lard or shoelaces or wool. Still nights when we go to bed with our stomachs growling. I never want to have kids, I say. I might, if I didn't live here, says Gale. But you do, I entreat. Forget it. He snaps back. The conversation feels all wrong. Leave? How could I leave Prim, who is the only person in the world I'm certain I love, and Gale is developed to his family. We can't leave, so why bother talking about it? And even if we did, where did this stuff about having kids come from? There's never been anything romantic between Gale and me. When we met, I was a skinny 12-year-old. And although he was only 2 years older, he already looked like a man. It took a long time for us to even become friends, to stop haggling over every trade and begin helping each other out. Besides, if he wants kids, Gale won't have any trouble finding a wife. He's good looking, he's strong enough to handle the work in the mines, and he can hunt. You can tell by the way the girls whisper at him when he walks by in school that they want him. It makes me jealous, but not for the reason people would think. Good hunting partners are hard to find. What do you want to do? I ask. We can hunt, fish, or gather. Let's fish at the lake. We can leave our poles and gather in the woods. Something nice for tonight, he says. Tonight, after the reaping, everyone is supposed to celebrate, and a lot of people do. But Ralph, that their children, out of the relief that their children has been spared for another year, but at least 2 families will pull their shutters, lock their doors, and try to figure out how they will survive the painful weeks to come.